to the Real Mama Pod.
I'm your host, Devin.
And I'm your host, Kendra.
We are real moms.
Sharing real experiences. The things people don't tell you. Hey, Mama, hey.
Hey, Mama.
Hey, friend. What's up?
Nothing.
Just nothing?
The sky.
The sky is up and the limit. The sky is the limit.
You caught me off guard because I was going to say I'm super excited, and then
no super. We're not super. We are super excited today, but we're using different words.
Yes.
Me and Devin are challenging ourselves to use different words because when we listen to ourselves on Thursdays, we're like, damn, we keep saying the same stuff.
Yeah.
I promise our vocabulary is far more. It's far more extensive. See, that's the better.
There we go.
It's far more extensive than what we show. But
yeah, well, we have a guest. We have a guest, y'all. Y'all can hear and see.
Yes,
her.
isn't she beautiful?
Gorgeous.
The vibrant red.
Yes,
I love it.
The black and white. So we have my line sister, Anamarie. In Gallo Bay, okay? So Anamarie is zero waste, okay? And she's going to talk to us about being zero waste and a zero waste mama, okay? She also has an amazing birth story, so we're going to dive into that.
Okay.
And, she's been interviewed by so many people.
So I feel special having her
to
here.
have her here, CNN, okay?
CNN?
Yes, girl. You can Google her.
Okay. Well,
she has a whole community, okay? Don't get it twisted, okay?
I know the community. I don't think I realized she was on CNN.
Yes. Yeah.
Give me a high five.
Sprinkling that magic, girl.
Yes.
And she's also one of my favorite line sisters. So we are super close.
Yay.
And it's so crazy to see her embark on this journey because I remember when she first went vegan and started zero waste, it was like challenging us not to use like paper plates and paper towels and giving us things like, you need to go to this restaurant and use this tin bowl. So, and just like really being serious about her lifestyle and really just like educating people.
And conscious about the earth. And
then also not making us feel bad about our personal choices, right? Meeting us at wherever we are, just like, okay, well, you can kind of change this and change that. But because of her, I don't use paper plates. Now, I still use paper towels, but
that's
I try to use my
that is a journey.
And I try to use my little towel she gave me, but it's a journey and it's a process. But I can say I probably don't use paper plates anymore because of her.
I don't use paper plates unless we have when we have our functions. Sometimes I still find myself like using glass plates, but if it's like a large family event, I ain't washing all the dishes. But I do not buy paper plates like on a regular. Yeah. I don't. Or plastic where everything is like natural, like metal, whatever. Yeah. So yes, we have a lot to talk about with you.
Yeah. So we're going to get right into it. This episode is perfect for the month of April, like Earth Day and all of that. Yes. So I'm happy.
We have all our green and floral. I'm loving it.
Yes. So, Anamarie, you have to be formal. But can you briefly tell us about your journey to motherhood?
Yeah. My journey to motherhood, the first thing that comes to my mind is Queen Afua, and her book is what is the name of that book actually?
It's okay. We can tag it later.
The Queen Afua's book, and I read it when I was probably in my early 20s, like straight out of college. And, the book is like, if you want, a great womb and all this kind of stuff, you got to, drink all these herbs and tonics and, say goodbye to the cheese and dairy and all that kind of stuff. And I was like 23, 24, and I was like, for me, but it stuck. The principles of that book pretty much stuck with me, and really was the catalyst of my motherhood journey outside of my own mom.
Right.
Her literal saying is that I grew up wanting to be a mom, and I thought that was always inspiring. You know? And so that was the impetus of what I would say was my own journey was that book, and then knowing I always wanted to be a mother was very important. And you know, you go through your 20s, you live your life, you say, maybe it's going to happen, maybe it's not. You know, you never really know. And let's see, last 2 years, or no, 3 years ago, I guess, when I met my husband, we started doing a lot of intense work together, like spiritual work, physical work. We started to embrace like very strict diets, and it wasn't like an ongoing thing, but it was just like every now and then, let's hit reset, let's detox, let's, you know, take some time and do some spiritual work together, you know, to think about what it is that we envision together, you know, and all of those things kind of just sparked us into like, you know, embracing marriagehood, and, you know, ironically, like we were going to go get our marriage license, and I'm pretty sure I conceived the day before. So, you know, after that, it was pretty much on and popping. You know?
Yeah.
I just took a trip to California with my big sister. We both were born in California. We have been wanting to do this like homecoming trip to California, and I was like, she was the first person I was really sharing with about the experience. Like, yeah, this is the plan. This is what we're gonna do. And you know, it felt like California and my sister kind of gave us that blessing. Like, okay, let's, you know, roll with it. So, you know, pregnancy, home buying process, and marriage kind of happened all at the same time.
Wow, three big things.
Three big things. But hey, I'm like, this is the triple adulting experience in one moment. But, you know, my birthing journey, you know, what I wanted to make sure I did was feel fearless about the process. And so early on I had fears because I was like, there's only one way this baby comes out of here. Right. Like, you know, once you're pregnant, you're like, wait a minute. Like, at some point, this baby has to come out of here. Right. And it, you know, it scared me. Yeah. You know, it's scary. And I had to say, you know, what's scary about it? What is the fear about? And if you can make actions to those fears, then you can release your fear. Right. And so my biggest fears were around, like, the baby taking a really long time to labor and, you know, not coming out easy, or, you know, we all are, you know, intimately familiar with maternal death, you know, and that was a fear. I think that's a fear for all of us, particularly Black women. You know, we are more prone to have those experiences, whether it's because of, you know, systemic racism in the medical system and whatnot, but that was a fear too. And so I said, okay, well, just, you know, it sounds like you just need to make sure you're drinking your water and, you know, eating your foods and doing your squats and, you know, taking those like foods that are super squishy and, you know, mucilaginous, so the baby just slides out, you know. And that was my approach to it. And, you know, the day I'm delivering, you know, I'm pretty much chill the whole day. Right. You know, my mom's in the room or she's around, and she's just like, I didn't labor that long, you know, so you're not going to labor that long. And I'm like trying to, you know, I had an expectation that for whatever reason it was going to take a long time for me to labor. And, you know, I pretty much labored throughout the day. The contractions were there, but they never really felt alarming to me, that I felt like, okay, I'm really in like real labor, active labor. But by the time I was like when I really was like, oh no, you're having a baby, girl, he probably stood out like within 45 minutes of me really digesting and be like, oh no, you're ready. You're actually, no, today, right now is when the baby's coming. So, you know, in my birth, the day, you know, I just had no fear, you know. I did have a home birth, and it was supposed to be like a water birth in like a pool and stuff that we typically see on like, you know, Instagram and such. And we did not make it to the pool, you know. I had the baby in my bathtub. Because one part of it was just I was expecting this long labor process. So, you know, filling up a pool for warm water is, functionally, you got to really start that like yesterday. So, at the time when I really started to contract and stuff like that, we filling up the pool. It's ice cold because it's February 18th.
Right.
And I'm like, girl.
Wow. He's about to be 1.
Yeah, I'm coming up on his birthday, my anniversary of, birthing him. And
love that.
Yeah.
You gotta be celebrated too.
Yes, that's my anniversary.
Yeah.
Birthday.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
And the process was just, easy. I think let me not say easy. It was like it was a certain flow to it of ease because I had no fear.
Yeah.
And when people talk about, birth, what we're now seeing is this holistic approach. It's not just about the canal and, your cervix and stuff. It's like literally it starts with your pituitary gland and its ability to release oxytocin to be able to give you the love hormones to make your body feel like, all right, we're good to go.
Yeah.
And so being able to set myself up throughout my pregnancy to release my fears and to more than just release them and say they're not going to be mine, but take responsibility in saying whatever you do fear, create a habit that will help to prevent that thing. When it came to birth time, I was fearless.
Right.
To the point that my midwife wasn't even there.
Right.
I literally gave birth with my husband, my mom, and my doula in the room. And it, I've heard stories of women who have, birth stillborn, and they talk about how they were waiting for the midwife to come in, and the midwife didn't make it. And I can see how that can stop your pituitary gland from releasing oxytocin. Because you're like, where's the person, the expert on this?
Right. The person I feel like I need to have my baby.
And I think what I had mentally set up for long in the journey in my pregnancy was like, this is your responsibility. This isn't you and the baby. This is your collective responsibility. Even my husband, to an extent, is kind of removed out of that bubble in that moment where it's like, it's literally my body pushing out his body. Yeah. And to have that responsibility allow for me to like not stress about anything else. And so when I felt him coming, I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I've been missing signals all day long. Let me go ahead and let you out, Right. And, my midwife showed up, very soon after, and, her assistant showed up actually sooner than she did and was able to just check him and make sure he was breathing right and suck out all of the fluids in his mouth. Thank you. But yeah, like it was a beautiful process. I absolutely loved it. Every part of it. My husband, like he said before we even got pregnant, like, yeah, when we get pregnant, I just wanted to be me and you delivering a baby. And I was like, I'm not on that. I'm actually, I would love a midwife, an expert in the room. And just ironically enough, like we ended up happening, and the experts being like my longtime homegirl, sister friend, Andrea, who is, blessed with 5 babies, and she has been helping and supporting women with her doula talents for years. So it was an honor to have her in the room, and then to have my mom in the room.
Yeah. Moms are great.
Yeah.
With, like,
the literal person who did this to me, decades ago is now sitting in the room, so, people talk about divine calling and divine experiences, and like I don't doubt that the experience was absolutely divine. So I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful. Like,
I love that.
Babies are everything. We definitely want to dive into your lifestyle.
Yes.
So you live a zero waste lifestyle. What is that to our listeners? Because I'm sure many of them are like, what the hell is zero waste? And how did you get into a space of wanting to live a zero life? We want to live a zero waste lifestyle.
Yep. I started it in 2013. So we're coming up. This is my 10-year. This is a 10-year anniversary. So it's also interesting that I'm like coming up on a year mark of motherhood.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So 10 years of doing it. And it initially started out with, I started Fort Negrita. It is now, a cooperative business that I am a co-member of or co-owner of. But initially it was a blog, a lifestyle blog focused on environmentalism. One of my homegirls, she actually told me about this woman who was living like a zero waste lifestyle. And she had already known I had started Fort Negrita. So she was like, I think you might like this. So it kind of initially started with learning about this, woman in maybe Connecticut or something. And she was living a zero waste lifestyle. And I was so attracted to it, or it was appealing to me because we understand that the environmental issues, the burdens and all that kind of stuff are much bigger than whether or not you bring a reusable water bottle, right?
Right.
We're talking about like transforming the earth, increasing the temperatures, at a drastic rate. And, but it was something about the act that for me that said, okay, if I'm going to do this as an individual, this is some of the best practices I can have. So I committed to the zero waste lifestyle. At one point fitting like all of my trash into a 32-ounce mason jar.
I remember that.
And it was intense, and I'm not quite there at all, at this point. I've definitely become more relaxed in the practice, but part of that is because, it's a difficult lifestyle, and particularly for someone who, doesn't have privileges, white privilege, upper class privilege. It just doesn't make sense for me to kind of punish myself on a daily basis in that way.
Right.
So now zero waste life looks like, using cloth towels over paper towels, or, always having my reusable water bottle and a reusable spork to be able to eat without using, plastic cutlery and that kind of thing. It looks like, thrifting instead of buying new, or borrowing something instead of buying it. That is the zero waste life for me now. And so, even in motherhood, it's been a practice of doing that as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Did I answer the question?
You did.
Okay.
You did. And you actually answered my next question about has it changed since you had your son? So I'm going to ask you my next question. So does your partner partake in this lifestyle as well? Does he agree with it? I know you said when you all met, you kind of did the same line of work. So was it easy to like kind of mesh, or was there some resistance? Like, what did that look like? How did you get him on board?
No, yeah, it wasn't difficult at all. I think it's a sensical practice, especially for someone who is just as invested in the earth as you are.
Right.
That, it makes sense. So okay. I think for him, it was more so just seeing the habits of like, okay, now that the towels are clean, they're in this drawer, you know what I mean? And then this is where you put them when they're dirty, and then we wash them all over again. So I think
creating a system, it sounds.
Yeah.
We're really helpful in that process to make it smooth. But he's, all on board, and I think in some ways, sometimes he's more zero waste than I am. It's been a really smooth process and harmonious, and so I'm really grateful for him.
I love that. And sometimes with men too, they surprise us. So it's once you get their system in order and they can follow it, they're like,
okay, I think I can do this.
And sometimes they go overboard. So
when they commit, they commit.
Yeah, when they commit, they commit.
Yeah. We found that with the diapering.
Okay.
So cloth diapers, we use cloth diapers all the time.
Okay.
And I told myself, before having the baby, I said, if it feels too much, right? If it's a hindrance, if it's just like not feasible to do this, we can alternate, if it means that, sometimes when we're out or whatever, we give ourselves grace and not use them, or if we're traveling and we don't want to use them, we can make that choice.
Right.
Yeah.
And so after the baby was born, like day 2, he comes in, he's like, I don't think this is going to work. And I was like, what? You know, I'm like, I did say, you know, we give ourselves some grace, but 2 days.
Because when they're that young, they are running through a whole box of diapers in like
every
a couple
hour.
days.
Literally, you're changing, and they're like, I'm like, so I was like, okay, well, just give us like a week to get the process together because we just really didn't have a process, you know? I was like, give us a week. Let's figure out the process and then, you know, go from there. And, you know, sure enough, we figured out a process and it was really helpful to have that. And, you know, he's pretty much on it at this point. You know, he does most of the diaper washing, honestly. Like he has a rhythm to it at this point, I guess. Like in the mornings when he's getting up for work, it's, you know, I'm already hearing the wash machine going. So it works. But yeah, he definitely was like day 2. Like, this ain't
So with diapering, like, so when y'all travel, do you use disposable diapers?
We've traveled, and we've used the reusables.
Oh, wow.
So we took a couple trips. One trip, we went to Maryland to, you know, my home, family home. And, you know, it wasn't a thing to think about if we could do it or not, because we knew we were going to be at my mom's and my parents' house, and so it just made sense. And we were driving, so it wasn't like a thing. It really wasn't a thing. We just we usually have a bucket for like dirty diapers until it's time to get cleaned. And so we brought that along. It was an easy process. But then we went to Arizona. We were staying at a hotel, not even like an Airbnb. So I think they had a washer and dryer on site, but not anything like, you know, in the room. And then we were flying. So it was kind of like,
we got to get something we can just throw
away.
Well, see, I wanted to, but then I also, I have a homegirl who she's done all reusable diapers.
Oh, wow.
So she's kind of like, I'm not gonna say she's my competition, but she's just like, she's definitely my motivation to say, you know, Noelle's doing this and I can do this too, you know? And so, she's giving me tools, she's giving me resources, like this is the best way to do it if you're traveling. So I just kind of took some of her input. And I said, you know, at the end of the day, if I crash and burn in the middle of Arizona and go and purchase a disposable diaper,
it's not
that'll be what it is, you know? So I think I've always given myself grace in that process, but at the same time, I'm still going to like
try your best.
Absolutely.
To do it. So
wow, look at that. Because I would have been like, okay.
Right, like just where is Target?
At that point, the dollar store.
Right, something.
I don't even need a Target. Take me to the Dollar Tree.
Give me something. So I have a question. I have a question about, so I'm sure there are moms listening now and they're like, I'm interested. I'm curious about the zero waste lifestyle, but I don't know where to begin. I don't know, like, if this is for me, if it's not. What would you suggest to her? Like, how could she start that journey?
Yes. I would say, I always tell, even without being a mom, I always tell people to do an assessment of just like, what are you wasting? What are you generating a lot of like materials with? You know, it could be like purchasing a bunch of clothes or, you know, throwing away a bunch of water bottles, you know, whatever it is, just kind of make an assessment, do like a trash audit, if you will. Like, where am I seeing a pileup of stuff? And also, even if it's not a pileup in the trash can, it could be like a corner of just like toys, you know, and then make decisions on like, how do you want to minimize that, you know? Examples might be, you know, maybe getting into the whole Marie Kondo tidying kind of thing of saying like, I'll minimize the amount of things that the baby has to like a chest, you know. That can be an example of zero wasting for a mom. Another example could be, you know, instead of maybe purchasing individual water bottles, maybe you subscribe to like a water tank, you know, system, and that can kind of come to your door on a daily or how frequent basis,
monthly,
you know, however frequent. So things like that, like do an audit and then just say like, how could I change these things? But thinking about what's realistic, especially for a mom. You know what I mean? Don't sign up to say you're going to go 100% zero waste diapers if it just doesn't fit. You know, if it doesn't fit for your lifestyle, you don't have to capacity to do it, just don't even set yourself up for failure, because then you'll turn your back to it and just say, oh, it wasn't for me.
Right.
When it just was that the cloth diapering wasn't for you, but, maybe something a little bit more palatable or easier to do can work for you. It's just about doing, because ultimately, you are carving out a life for 7 generations ahead, including your baby, and your babies. So you're thinking about, what is the world that I'm creating for them? And it starts in the household. It starts with like these little habits of saying, like, I'm gonna have less water bottles. I'm gonna, switch to paper towels, or from paper towels, just because, ultimately this is their world. We're just kind of borrowing it for another, set of years, but they're ultimately going to be here longer than we are. Yeah. So if we can kind of think of with them in mind, what is the world that I'm creating for them? Do I want them to live in a trashy world, a world of, extreme weather and climate change, or do I want them to be in a stable space, a safe space? Do I want this world to feel good to them?
Yeah, it sounds like you want your son to adopt a similar lifestyle.
Yeah, I want him to. I think I want him to be in a. I think I want it to be the standard. Okay. Overall, that and not that the standard be that everyone is practicing extreme zero waste practices, but that it is easier to be eco-friendly. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go out of your way, like. The products that are sold on the shelf are naturally just eco-friendly, like all of them. Not that, you have to pay more and go to a specific store to get the organic whatever. Like, I just want it to be more normalized. So that is the life that I want, that I hope that I'm helping to shape up for him and his generation, is a world that it's easier to be it's thoughtless to be eco-friendly, because what else are we doing if we're not protecting the place that's like giving us a habitat, a home?
Right.
Are you looking for a place to go, like on vacation or with your girls?
Of course, I'm always looking to kick it with my girls or my man.
Yeah, or your boo. Well, if you are in search of a vacation planner, we have the perfect person for you, and that is KT Travel and More.
Yes, Stephanie is fabulous and thorough.
Very.
And she will make sure you have the best time on your vacation.
Yes.
Yo, if you have a destination wedding you're trying to plan, let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. Okay, anniversary, couples trips,
baby
all
moon.
That. Baby moon. Yeah, she got you.
She got you all the way.
So check out KT Travel and
More.
Yes, and tell her we sent you.
Bye.
Bye.
Right.
So
right. I do try. I try my hardest. Like water bottles. Like, we live in Georgia, and I lived in Missouri prior to Georgia, and they actually recycled in Missouri. So we had our recycle bin, and then obviously our waste bin. But it's not, at least for me, I haven't known it to be as easy to recycle here, right? So water bottles, like, I feel so terrible when I'm drinking out of a water bottle and I have to throw it in the trash, because there's not an option for me to use like a recycle bin. So I try my hardest to be eco-friendly.
That's something there, like, families, mothers, parents, like, advocating at your city council meetings or whatever to say, we want a place to put recyclables. Like, that's simple. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that's what I mean as far as like more systemic changes versus just the small individual changes. Right. It's like, we got to see corporations and institutions, government entities, those creating, larger change so that it's effortless to recycle. It's almost like, making the trash can obsolete, and instead you have like, these materials are going to go back and be plastic, additional plastics. These ones will be paper or whatever. Yeah. Like, stop making packaging that's only, made to be used one time and can't be recycled. Right. Just stop it. And that part of that is, as a parent, as a mom, is saying, is taking those steps to be an advocate in different rooms, as a spokesperson for yourself and your family, to say, hey, I want a cleaner city, and I want a city that is, greener, you know?
Yeah.
And we know it exists, right? We've seen places, Missouri, you've lived in Missouri. We know Washington and California are just like
West Coast
got it.
They got it on lock.
They're speeds ahead of us. And, you know, we are in the South, you know, which, you know, is slower. It's a global, you know, the gateway to the global South and such. But honestly, if we think about, you know, our Southern elders, they're the most zero waste, most eco-friendly people I've ever met.
Especially in the kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, true. It's here. It's just about kind of amplifying it and positioning ourselves, you know, as moms to speak up for ourselves, our families, our 7 generations ahead.
7 generations. I love that.
I didn't know that either. So that's a tip to take away.
So you talked about a little bit your son following your footsteps. Before you had him, like what steps did you take to make sure you were zero waste? So did you get like donated items or what did that look like?
Yeah. Okay. I'm laughing because Devin gave me a ton of stuff. Oh my gosh. Yes. Hand-me-downs forever for life. Yeah. Okay. That was a big part of it. I didn't want people to purchase new stuff. And a big reason for that was just because of how temporary a lot of that stuff is. I can't tell you how much stuff I've already retired. And he's 11 months, you know, and I'm like, wow, you know, and if every single mom, every time they're having a baby are purchasing these things that last for months, you know, that's just really wild to me. So I just, you know, I'm like, no, we're always going to go, what is already out there? Now, if I can't gather what I need from, you know, tribe, from community, then of course, you know, I'll purchase it and whatnot. But, you know, that's always going to be my go-to. And honestly,
I love that.
There's other moms who are like ready to get it off their hands.
Yeah, I was ready. I said, you need what? Here you go.
What else? Do you need anything else?
That's up. Absolutely. And it's just, you know, I'll create a system where I can hopefully always get things hand me down. You know? And I hope that my son can see the value in that, you know, and it not be like, oh, mom, like, you know, and I don't want him to feel like he can't have new things. That's not the point. And, you know, I'm never going to be the mom that's like hammering down on him like a particular lifestyle, you know, but I do want him to see the value in like, look at this exchange of community. And then this kind of, I'm definitely, you know, here for anti-capitalism to say like, no, we won't keep, why are you taking money from moms every 3 months to purchase all of these things to make you billions of dollars? You know, like we are out here just trying to like scrap up and take care of these babies and raise humans, you know? So it's definitely a little bit of a like fight the system kind of thing. But just in this very ease of like loving way, you know, of alternative. It's like, no, I already know it's a high chair out there for me. I already know it's you know, all of these things exist and people I can't even tell you at this point. I have to tell people like I have enough stuff, you know? But it's making me think of like having some kind of something like a container to say this is where moms can go
to get things,
you know.
I love that
in a very organized way.
Something. It's like show up and get what you need.
I love that.
Oh man, this is good conversation. So what are some things we can do to support our habitat and support this zero waste movement? Like what can we do? What can our listeners do? What can the world do?
Yeah, definitely think about, you know, think about your contributions to the earth on a like individual level. That'll be just you. Like, what am I doing? What's my mentality? You know, do I even acknowledge earth and how my ways might, you know, impact it? And then think about it in concentric circles. And then you go out to like your nuclear family and say, how are we doing? You know, in that whole realm of protecting the earth and, you know, conserving resources. And then think about, okay, go out one more. How's my extended family doing? You know, what am I saying at the dinner table with my family that, you know, encourages them to like stop using paper plates when, you know, it's a small enough gathering, you know? So think about it like that. And then as you get out, you got your external family, and then you have like your neighbors and your community members and the other people that live in your municipality, excuse me. So then you start thinking about, well, who am I voting for? Right. You know, what where's their priorities for, you know, the environment? I want to see that on their platform. And then, so you go out kind of in these concentric circles. Part of it is also like when you go and purchase things, your purchasing has power, you know, your dollar has power. We hear that all the time. And so, you know, buying the more earth-friendly product, you know, and it's hard, right? Because it's a fine line between like real, you know, authentic green products and greenwashing right now. So you do have to be careful, but even, you know, the greenwashing products, though they're not, you know, the best, it's telling, you know, those big corporations like they're preferring the more green option. So maybe if I move all of the diapers and make all of the diapers green versus just like having it selective, then that'll transform the whole, you know, industry.
Okay. I love that. So I think my last question will be around global warming, right? So it's like a buzzword right now. And so 1, do you think it's real? And 2, like, how can we prevent this from happening? You said 7 generations, and that's like sticking with me. So how do we protect our babies and our 7 generations?
And their babies.
And their babies and their babies and their babies. Like, how do we stop this? Because to me, it's real, and it's getting outrageous. Like, I don't remember weather being this extreme
like,
when we were little.
Should not be wearing short sleeve shirts in February.
Right.
Like, and then the next day we're in in a hoodie and a coat. Like, which one are we doing, Earth? Like, are we?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Love your intake on that.
Yeah. Global warming, as a geographer trained in you know, looking at climatology, I'm going to tell you absolutely global warming is happening. You know, if we look at the industrial era, which was like starting in the late 1800s to now, we see this exacerbated jump in temperature, global, what they call surface temperature, which is like the temperature of it's a formula, basically it's the average of the temperature of the earth. Right. And they have looked at it since the late 1800s and have seen a jump, like a hockey stick, that wasn't there before the industrial period. Wow. So you had this like kind of plateaued line, and then all of a sudden, when you started incorporating, you know, the railroads and burning of coal and other natural resources, you start to see this jump. Right. And so that's because more carbon is in the air. Carbon is a gas. It carries heat. That heat just creates more friction and more heat, more temperature. And so, yes, you're seeing global warming. You're seeing over time that it's getting warmer and warmer. And so your next question was around, you know, what can we do? Yeah. You know, the same thing I just said around just being active and being aware and conscious, you know, and, you know, doing some level of research, taking it into your own hands in a sense, you know. I always tell people I don't know that I'll see a change or see, you know, climate change, you know, decrease in my lifetime. I may or may not see it, but I continue to work towards that goal. Yeah. And that's ultimately all that we can do. Right. You know, it's not about burning yourself out. And that's part of the reason why my zero waste life doesn't look like a 32-ounce mason jar of trash anymore, because I'm not going to burn out, you know, my own existence trying to, you know, counter something that is this big conglomerate monster. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's only one of you.
It's only one of me, you know.
And I'm not going to kill myself. Like, I'm going to fight the cause or fight for the cause.
I'm going to speak up and all that good stuff, but I'm not about to, like, wither away because of that. So, you know, just being active, being knowledgeable, doing reading, you know, challenging, voting for your officials, and then challenging them when they don't show up in the ways that they say they will. It is about sometimes I'll randomly write letters to corporations, and they're nice. I won't be nasty with it. You know? I keep it clean. But, you know, sometimes I'm just like, hey, you know, one time I wrote to Spirit, and I told Spirit, because Spirit Airlines, you know, we all love to hate them, hate to love them. Right? We all say we never doing it again.
Right. We be on that spirit line.
It's $20. And you're like, okay, I might be able to make it work.
I think I can do it, the math.
Zero waste dollars.
Okay. And so this is a while back. I wrote them. They were beforehand. They were like promoting themselves as like the most eco-friendly airline, and they still do. But at the time, they didn't have an app or anything for their ticketing. You either had to like print it out at your house
to the desk or you pay them
$10.
They have the nerve to say they're the most eco-friendly.
So I wrote them. I said, okay, I get it. You know, whatever. But if you all are claiming to be the most eco-friendly like organization or company, if airline, whatever, why do I have to either print it or pay for y'all to print it when there's technology that should allow for me to just access it for free?
You might have been a part of the movement to get them.
That's what I think. That's what I think.
Like, you need to write them back and tell them to pay you.
Well, that and
for
the
your
nerve
idea
of them to say they're the most eco. First of all, they're not giving away anything, so it's not like they're giving away stuff and they're doing that in an eco-friendly way. If you thirsty,
right,
and you want some water, you gonna pay them for a bottle of water. So that's. Let's move on.
Yep.
Okay.
So just be an advocate. You know, a lot of us don't see ourselves as, you know, we don't see ourselves as the leader of a movement, but we are the leaders of a movement.
We are.
We have
to.
Everybody everybody is a leader. We are advocates for what we want in this world. And then if we don't take charge of that, take responsibility of that, you know, making a point to go out of our way to go to an MPU meeting or making it a point to go to the PTA meetings or whatever to inform change, then we just kind of contributing to the status quo.
Wow. Yeah. That was good. You said a lot in 30 minutes.
Right.
You said a lot in 30 minutes, girl.
Thank you.
Wow.
So if anyone wants to find you on social media, how can they find you?
Yes. So I personally am on Instagram, Ree from the Fort. So that's REEFOFROM.
We'll tag it in our description. Mama brain. It's real, y'all. It's so real. They take your brains out.
Vocabulary.
Yeah.
I love vocabulary.
Yeah, you do.
You lose everything.
You lose a lot.
They take a lot from you.
Yeah. And it takes a while to like build your mental, like your brain is so clogged up with other things.
I'm like, taking mushroom.
Yeah,
teas
I
right
saw
now
that. I'm gonna try that.
Brain.
Yeah, because the brain is fogged.
Back. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
it is
nice and foggy.
I be looking for it. I'm like, Fred, Jared, what am I trying to say? They be like, I don't know.
Don't ask me because I'm just as foggy.
I'm like, you know what I'm talking about? That thing.
Yep.
No, I don't. So yes, follow Ree.
Ree from the Fort, and then FortNegrita.com is the cooperative business I was talking about that we sell functional, environmentally friendly products.
Yes.
Okay. Various makers and creators, things like herbal tinctures. We have some eco-friendly swag like your reusable tote bags and your reusable sporks. What else?
Do you still have the sanitary napkins?
We do have the menstrual pads.
Okay.
Yes. So those are all on FortNegrita.com, and you can follow Fort Negrita on all social platforms.
Yes.
We'll make sure all of that information is in our description box.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So all that protecting the world and the earth and all that stuff, it is time for Mama Juice.
Yay. So this is my favorite. While I love talking to our guests, this is my, I guess, second favorite part of the show. So I love a good cocktail. Like, that's just me. And everyone knows that. So we made a drink inspired by you and your lifestyle, and the zero waste lifestyle, I should say. We had some leftover herbs, right? Some herbs that were on their way out. And I'm like, I love herbal drinks. And I'm like, maybe we should make an herbal cocktail with these herbs that are on their way out. And that's what we did. So this drink is called Mama Nature. Yay. So if y'all can see it, looks all herbal.
It's earthy.
It looks all earthy, right? Let we're like, we got to make something earthy for Ree. So it has an ounce of gin. It has a half an ounce of elderflower liqueur. Yes, it's so good. It has a 1/4 of ounce of simple syrup, a 1/4 of ounce of lime juice from a fresh lime. We use fresh ingredients. We have a 1/4 of an ounce from grapefruit juice. We have 3 slices of fresh cucumber, and we have 4 fresh basil leaves. So you put all that in a cocktail shaker. Muddle
That New
it
York
up.
coming out?
No, it's not.
Shake.
Muddle it up, shake it, and pour it over ice. And this is Mama Nature. So for Bree actually does not drink.
Of course not.
We're gonna have to make sure we
and currently not
protecting her body and the earth. So if you want the mocktail version of this, you'll have a 1/4 of an ounce of fresh lime juice. You'll have a 1/4 of an ounce of fresh grapefruit juice. And you'll have those fresh cucumbers, those fresh basil, and half an ounce of simple syrup. So same concept, shake it all up, pour it over ice. And that's Mama Nature in the mocktail version.
All right.
It's so good.
So our next segment is Mama's Corner.
And this is Devin's favorite.
I love Mama's Corner, especially when y'all write in and we have guests and the question like matches up to our guests. Like it's amazing, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, friend, this works. Anyway, so I'm going to read it. And it says, hey, Ken and Dev, I missed y'all so much. Definitely noticing the changes y'all have done with the podcast. Y'all don't stop. Keep going. Thank you, girl.
Okay, right.
We are loving it. Yes. Thank you for noticing because we've been working hard. So for this new season, I wanted to know if you all could have a guest talk about their water birth experience. We talked about that earlier a little bit, so we can dig a little deeper. And can y'all make that happen for your girl? Thanks in advance. So
okay, girl.
Ree kind of talked about that, which we didn't know she was going to talk about earlier in her birth story, but we can dig a little deeper and talk about like, how did you find your doula? How did you find your midwife? You kind of discussed why did you want to do a natural birth? And let's talk about, was that scary for you? Like I know you said you wasn't fearful, but like, did you ever have any doubt, any second that anything can happen because you didn't have this professional there? And did you like cuss her out for being late? Because I want to know.
Like, was she scheduled to be there, or
right?
she
like,
just?
Well, how did she like just give us that dynamic of? Because we talked about the water birth and how you felt powerful and all that, but let's break down this not having this professional person there and really just having you, your doula, your husband, and your mom. Like, walk us through that. Yeah. Because that's not what we see on Instagram. Yeah. And then you said you didn't have the tub filled up. Girl, what?
Like the water tub.
Instagram told us something different.
Yes, it did. Yeah, I think, what do I want to say first? Releasing expectations was like huge. Even, it just was huge because it contributed to where my mind was going to be for the day.
Right.
And because I was just like, whatever, here we are, I'm flowing my only job. I got one job. Right. And that's to bring him through alive and well. And so everything else kind of just took a back seat. And part of why I wanted to, I didn't really talk about this, but I'll share just around why I wanted to do it was because I wanted to honor the ancient language that my body understands of giving birth, like ancient for generations past. We talk about 7 generations ahead. Now let's talk about 7 generations behind, have been giving birth and, without the more contemporary medical system. And I wanted to have my birth in that practice and give homage to the granny midwives who have likely birthed all of the presidents of the United States, who have birthed many people in the South. Oni Lee Logan comes to mind, as well as Mary Frances Coley. They were both granny midwives. And their work was, they were kind of on the tail end of it, but basically the granny midwife work was illegitimized, in like the 1960s or so when they were trying to transfer women to using doctors and nurses and going to medical centers. And so a lot of that I was kind of already empowered with in my journey. Mm-hmm. So that was really helpful. And then for me to have to experience it, you know, without an expert, without a professional in the room, it just was like, well, look at that. Isn't that funny? You know, it was very ironic. And, you know, I still laugh sometimes because I really gave birth to him in the same bathtub that I take a shower in every day. So sometimes it just comes to me often that I'm just like, isn't that interesting, you know, that this happened. But not far off, not off brand for me. Right. You know, my sisters are like, this is not. This is not, you know.
We saw this for you.
Right. Right.
For you.
We saw this for you.
Give birth in a bathtub, you know. I think choosing my doula was a no-brainer.
Right.
Andrea Blanton, just blessed. Okay. Maternally blessed.
Right.
And it made sense for her to be my doula. My mom, she was supposed to be there. So she had came. My mom lives in Maryland. I live in Georgia, in Atlanta. And she was supposed to, she came a week before. So the idea was that she was going to have 2 weeks there before birth and then 2 weeks after, but he came a week early. And that was part of the reason why I wasn't convinced that I was delivering. Right. I mean, or in labor when I was too. But she was there and, you know, my husband was there.
Right.
And my midwife, she had recommended we read this piece of literature, and I recommended for anyone who's pregnant, the Matrona, which is basically it talks about the unraveling of the birth process and the stages of it. And so it's like at this stage, you know, mom might be kind of cleaning up. She might be like moving nesting around, nesting and stuff. And then stage 2 looks like this, and stage 3 and stage 4. And it was really helpful to read that because when I was going through the stages, even though I was somewhat like, I'm not in labor, I could feel and be like, this might be stage 4.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was really helpful. And so I definitely encourage women to read that, particularly if, you know, they need some kind of anchoring and grounding, because I was really anchored and grounded. Right. And, you know, if they understand that it's their job, whether you're in a hospital or at home giving birth or a birth center, it's your job to get this done.
Yeah.
So just making sure you're like prepped up for that is important. My midwife, she came recommended through some folks, and you know, still to this day, even with her missing out on the birth, I still completely respect her and honor her, and know that she is an asset to the home birthing community in Metro Atlanta.
That perspective.
Yeah,
because I wouldn't have had that.
Yeah,
like, girl, you was like.
I think I wanted to be. At some points, I wanted to be upset.
Yeah.
But
your baby's fine.
Yeah. And then fine. I just thought about like how, you know, people say we make plans, God laughs.
Yeah.
And also just remembering like, this is what my husband wanted.
Yeah.
So ultimately the universe was just like,
he did.
Let's put this together. Since this is what he wants and, you know, whatever. Manifest. And it all pretty much worked out.
Yeah.
I think
just the way it was supposed to.
The way it was supposed to. The way it was supposed to. So, yeah, I think, you know, definitely do your research if you're going to do a home birth. Or if you just, I think the same rules apply for home birth as it does for, you know, in hospital. Like, whoever you feel like you want to work with to deliver your baby, like, vet them out. Yeah. You know, don't just go with what is available to you. Like, at the end of the day, that has to be a very comfortable, cozy process. Yeah. That's part of the reason why I chose the home birth, because I wanted candles. I wanted a scent. I didn't want this kind of sterile space. I didn't want, you know, these kind of hyper lights on me. Yeah. And, you know, I didn't know what my flow would be like, but I just wanted to be somewhere that I was uninhibited.
And your baby, because your baby feeds off of you.
Feels that, right? Yeah. And just thinking about, one thing I do want to bring up, just, I don't know if you all are familiar with that Ick video that came out like at the end of last year.
Yeah, with the nurses.
Yeah. Yeah. And that just, you know, a lot of the conversation around that, particularly in like the home birth and alternative birth spaces was like, this is why I do the work that I do, you know, and I ended up having to go to the hospital like in the middle of my pregnancy at one point. And I remember like when I came to the front desk, like the woman didn't even look at me. She was like, write your name down and go sit down. And it was just very like, and I was like, in my head, this is why I'm not going to be here. You know, in my head, because I'm like, you know, and it was just kind of like this idea that, you know, the medical system, particularly for Black women, you know, like we're just, I want to say these names. Anarka, Lucy, and Betsy, they were 3 enslaved women who were the basically pet or test rats for the founder, or what they call the father of gynecology. So he created these apparatuses, the tongue thing, you know, by using them. And his idea was that enslaved women, Black women, do not feel pain. We don't feel pain. Somehow, you know,
we're magical.
We are magical. And so, you know, because that has not been demystified in the medical system, and you can still have people that even look like you, you know, to see that ick video, I'm like, half of y'all are supposed to be my girls. What you mean?
It was disturbing.
So, you know, that was also a big part of me for choosing a home birth, you know. So yeah, but I also just want to advocate for either way, you know, you do your research and you got to know what is going to be for you, because at the end of the day, you got a job to do. And you need the perfect circumstance to do that. If that means you need, you know, a doctor in a hospital bed and everything else, that's what you choose. You go with what you need, because you don't want to be in a space where you're like, oh, I made the wrong decision in the middle of it, when you're literally contracting and pushing out a baby, because that baby is going to feel it.
And everyone's birth experience is different. It's different.
It's very different.
Wow, I love that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks
for joining us.
And great really conversation.
Y'all share this episode, okay?
Yes, please.
Earth Day, April. Every day is Earth Day. How about that, okay? Not just one day, not just 1 month. Every day, okay? And, like, send us pictures of things that you all are doing. Like, I would like to see, and we'll hold each other accountable for that, too.
Okay.
So, baby steps, you know? But, Ree, you have to come back. Okay, this was great.
It was. Thank you so much.
We really enjoyed y'all.
Enjoyed
you. What am I talking about, y'all?
Thank you all so much for joining us at the Real Mama Pod.
Yes, every Thursday night. Y'all could be anywhere,
but you're hanging out with us.
Yes, and we love it. So, friend, where can they find you?
They can find me anywhere they like. I'm on Instagram at KendraFerg_, and I'm also on Facebook, Kendra Ferguson. Okay. What about you?
Also, you can connect with us on Instagram, TikTok,
Pinterest, Twitter,
Facebook, Twitter, all of that at The Real Mama
Pod.
Yeah, so make sure you follow us. If you want to learn more about Kendra and I, you can check out our website, where we have Mama merch. Hey, you can see our little sweatshirts.
Right. Yeah. We are wearing our Mama merch.
Yeah, we have sweatshirts, hats, necklaces. We also have Rich Auntie merch. So you can purchase that at www.therealmamapod.com. We're so pretty.
I know.